If you're not getting wins and results for people and you're not getting better and you've just been mediocre for 5 years, you don't deserve to suddenly get paid like somebody who's excellent.
And for people listening, how would you say, like, where should people start if they want to, be a copywriter? Should they focus on one, and which one? And just give us some tips on that.
Like being open to everything early on, I think is really important. Like I'm a big believer in diverse experiences and all aspects of life. Like, when it comes to, I don't really read business books. I read like history, or I'll read like a novel or stuff like that. Like, I think you draw from experiences that are very diverse, and then they make you a better, stronger person. And the same comes from marketing and copywriting. So that's how I did it. And I think in general, for people who are starting out with copywriting, they should do the same thing. If you're gonna, if you're trying to make money as a copywriter, I definitely don't think you need to find a niche. I think honestly, sometimes the best advice is really go get hired as a content writer, because it's really pretty easy to get hired as a content writer, which is like annoying kind of, right? And you're not gonna get paid that much. Maybe you get paid $15 like an article or a page, or 20. But if you can start right on an hour, okay. I mean, if you're broke right now, right, and you start getting paid $20 an hour, that's $40,000 a year, which is better than most jobs you're going to get coming out of college, or even for a lot of people in America, their entire lives, right?
Yeah.
And so plus, okay, now you're getting paid to write. So you're thinking of yourself as a professional writer. You're writing headlines. You get good headlines for every article or piece of content you write. You need subheaders. You need a good opening sentence. I actually think like starting with content writing can be a really beneficial thing. And if you're really not going to do that because you feel like a little more advanced and you kind of know about copywriting and you just want to, go into that world, then generally email copy is the easiest because it's short. You'll learn how to write really long form copy. Like I have a whole methodology to that, the RBC method. But I've had people get good really fast, but really fast can be like a couple months, right? And that is really fast. But email, it's like you could just, if you really look at what's working and just copy it, basically like model off of it, you can start writing really good emails in a couple of weeks. So probably starting with email copy is the best place to start.
So what are your thoughts on like paying and setting your rates and all that stuff?
That's an awesome question. And yeah, there was just a thread about it too. Somebody who was sharing how they had a potential client who had been basically, you're charging too much. Like I can pay other people different amounts of money, and people were coming in right away. Like, you're like, fuck that guy, but I put a response. I'm like, well, if you have like the track record and the case studies and you're like a proven writer, then yeah, like fuck that guy. And keep charging what you're charging or charge more. I was like, but if you don't, then be way less worried about what you're being paid today and be like way more worried about getting wins, right? Like, and gaining experience and just getting wins for clients. I think that's the part where some people skip it. And even people who've been in the industry for a few years, it's like, I don't want to be a dick, but I'm gonna do it. Fuck it. Right. So you come in a couple of years ago, you keep just like, you never really improved yourself. Like you just read a bunch of shit, but you're not like, you read a couple of books early on, you're in some fucking Facebook groups. So you like hang around in the Facebook group and talk about shitty clients and that kind of stuff. And like occasionally comment on when people are like, oh, what do you think about this headline? Nobody really likes it. But in your head, you're like, yeah, I'm an old veteran now. Like I deserve a lot. It's like, no, you fucking don't, right? Like, what are your wins doing? Like there's the people on like those job boards. Like I somebody pointed out to me early on where I was trying to hire copywriters. This is before Copywriter. And I put in a group and basically all the writers who applied, like sucked, or like they were very hit or miss. Some of them didn't suck, but it was like they had a couple wins and then they had terrible bombs too. And then somebody was like, yeah, like if people were like lurking this job board, like generally the people who are experienced are doing that. Like there's a reason that they're free and looking for jobs, right? If you're a newbie, that's one thing, totally get it. But for the more experienced people, but the way you solve all of that is like by just getting really fucking good, right? Like actually getting better. Like you're not owed anything, even after 3 years, like, or 5 years, you're not owed anything. If you're not getting wins and results for people and you're not getting better and you've just been mediocre for 5 years, you don't deserve to suddenly get paid like somebody who's excellent. You're still mediocre. You need to go from mediocre to excellency. So going back to being successful, I just think everything we do, almost everything, you're almost always a service business. Whether you're like the CEO of a large publicly traded corporation, you're still in the service business, right? You have stakeholders, you have customers, and you have people that you're serving. But we're all serving somebody. We're all in a service business. And so you need to be the best at service and then fulfillment that you could possibly be. So good communication, professional, on time, like, showing up when you're supposed to show up, doing what you say you're going to do, over deliver, right? What's so wonderful when you go to a nice restaurant and they bring you a free dessert at the end, you're like, oh, how nice is that? Right? Like, you're like, oh no, I don't want dessert. Like, well, here's like a little, some chocolates or some truffles, or you're like, oh, that's so nice. Right? Do that for your clients. You're like, hey, you asked for 5 emails. So here they are. Plus I decided to write you 2 more. Here they are, right? Do shit like that. Like, wow, people, over deliver. There's like 5 things to do. And there's not a lot of things. If you actually like did the very basic stuff like well, like you would almost all of them would probably be making 2 to 3 times more money per year than they're making right now. And those things aren't even skill related. So again, fulfillment, become the best in the world at whatever it is you're doing, whatever, whether it's and if you're a business owner, same thing, like make your product the best in the world. And then, the customer service, become the best in the world, world-class customer service, no matter who you are or what you do. If you just do those 2 things, I swear to you, you'll be so far ahead of 99% of your competition. It's crazy.
Hope you found today's session valuable. If you have any questions for me or just want to connect, please feel free to visit my website, mariasparagis.com. That's mariasparagis.com. I'd love to hear what you're working on, so drop me a line on any hot button issues your business is experiencing. And remember, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once.